Your job probably sucks. No, I'm not a mind reader, but it's pretty obvious for a few reasons. Our collective frustrations with our chosen professions are so commonplace that it has just become an expected norm. Many argue that this frustration is due to the inherent flaws of capitalism, which prioritizes profit over people and perpetuates systemic inequality. Before I get into it though, if you want to make this video even more fun, take a shot every time I say the phrase, "I do not dream of labor." And if you're still alive at the end of this video, your liver may in fact be made of steel. Anyway, moving on. In this brief video essay, we will explore why "I do not dream of labor" is becoming more prevalent and why turning away from capitalism is necessary to create a better future. In recent years, the phrase "I do not dream of labor" has become an increasingly popular sentiment, particularly among younger generations. This sentiment represents a growing frustration with the traditional model of work and the impact it has on our lives, both individually and collectively. Statistically speaking, if you live in the United States or any number of developed countries, you probably have a job. You may even have multiple jobs. And if you're anything like the vast majority of people, there's a good chance you hate your job. And if you don't hate your job, at the very least, you resent the constant grind and monotony of your daily work life, fully aware that ceasing even momentarily could spell long-term financial ruin. While many of us start our working lives with youthful exuberance, eager to show off our potential, climb the corporate ladder, and build a dream life for ourselves, over time, this feeling is slowly replaced with a despondent sense of dread that nothing we do ultimately matters. This gets even worse when many of us, perhaps used to our extra efforts paying off at school, come to realize that the hardest workers are usually treated the worst in the real world, where working hard is rewarded with more work and not necessarily more pay. The realization that our working lives will be nothing like we imagined is simultaneously accompanied by the fatalistic feeling that we cannot do anything about it. Stuck in an endless cycle of work, sleep, and errands, the only reprieve being the vanishingly brief weekend which we spend dreading Monday, or the occasional vacation which we spend thinking about work. Sure, a lucky few of us may have found our passion in life at a young age and decided to pursue a career in that field, until ultimately it becomes clear. It's still work. Any joy derived from an activity is quickly diminished when doing that activity repeatedly and consistently is pretty much a requirement for your continued survival. The closest one can ever hope to achieving a dream job is one that is not demanding, boring, with few if any real deadlines, that comfortably supports your lifestyle. But for the vast majority of people, that is a luxury we will never know. Meaning that for many, even with education, we are stuck taking whatever job just best pays the bills, regardless of how that job suits us personally. This is just one of the several types of alienation discussed by Karl Marx in economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844 and Das Kapital. There is alienation from products, which I just alluded to. Alienation from products refers to workers having little to no say in what they produce or how they produce it. For many, this results in a lack of fulfillment or disillusionment from products they create or the work they do, as workers are often removed from the final outcome and the creative process. The worker's labor is also fragmented and specialized, which can make it difficult to see the end result of their efforts. There is also alienation from labor, which refers to the fact that workers under a capitalist economy lack control over the means of production. The workers sell their labor power to capitalists, who own the means of production, in exchange for a wage. This arrangement typically leads to a sense of detachment from the work itself, as the worker is motivated primarily by earning a wage to survive, rather than having a direct connection to the value and purpose of their labor. There is also alienation from others, because capitalism strongly incentivizes competition among workers, because they're all vying for better wages and working conditions. This often results in a cutthroat environment severely lacking solidarity, so workers can end up feeling a sense of isolation from each other. Rather than collaborating and supporting each other, workers view each other as rivals. Alienation from self refers to the repetitive and monotonous nature of many jobs under a capitalist system, which can lead to a feeling of estrangement from one's own abilities, creativity, and potential. Workers often do not have the opportunity to express their full capabilities or engage in tasks that truly align with their skills and interests. And lastly, we have alienation from human nature. Marx argued that work is a fundamental aspect of human nature, allowing individuals to express themselves, develop skills, and contribute meaningfully to society. However, in a capitalist system, work can become a means of survival rather than a fulfilling human endeavor, leading to a disconnect from this essential aspect of being human. In the face of these pressing and deeply concerning issues, the resounding resonance of the sentiment, "I do not harbor aspirations of toiling endlessly," or "I do not dream of labor," gains profound significance. The dissatisfaction that permeates through the fabric of contemporary work experiences transcends individual lamentation. It stands as an undeniable testament to the systemic inadequacies that lie at the heart of capitalism. This prevailing economic framework, which unabashedly places profit on a pedestal towering above human welfare, serves as the fertile ground where seeds of inequality take root and flourish. Moreover, the very act of labor, which should ideally be a source of collective purpose and shared prosperity, has been rendered into an alienating and dispiriting affair, perpetuating disconnection rather than fostering unity. In envisioning a more just and compassionate future, the prospect of steering away from the entrenched grasp of capitalism emerges as an imperative that cannot be ignored. Yet, let it be understood that this call for a transformation doesn't entail a polite reformation of capitalistic ideals, but rather beckons for a top-down reimagining, a reimagining that spans economic paradigms and societal structures alike. The time is ripe to rebuild these constructs so that the well-being of humanity takes precedence over the ceaseless pursuit of capital accumulation. It's an endeavor that calls for a profound introspection into the very nature of work and its role in shaping lives. Conceptual foundations like a universal basic income, which strives to emancipate individuals from the shackles of survival-driven labor, present themselves as potential cornerstones for a more just order. Meanwhile, the notion of condensing the work week holds the promise of not only allocating more temporal real estate to personal pursuits, but also collectively curbing the overexploitation of human energy in the name of productivity. In the spirit of dismantling traditional power dynamics, the tenets of employee ownership could pave a path where the fruits of labor are shared equitably among those who contribute. Furthermore, pivoting towards an emphasis on sustainable and purposeful vocations could foster a tectonic shift where the pursuits of humanity are aligned with the ecological balance of the planet. The transformation envisioned is not the evolution of economic structures, but the very essence of our societal fabric, where individuals, labor, and the overarching community coalesce in a symposium of shared purpose. In this future, dissonance between the aspirations of the individual and the exigencies of daily toil is dissolved, replaced by a melodic cadence that resonates with the aspirations of a liberated collective. Now that you've officially had enough of my really pathetic attempts at poetry, I do want to go back to the rise of "I do not dream of labor." There are several factors that contribute to the rise of this sentiment. Perhaps most significantly is the changing nature of work itself. With the rise of automation and artificial intelligence, and I say artificial intelligence a little loosely there, many traditional jobs are becoming obsolete. This has led to an increase in precarious employment, such as the gig economy, where employees or workers rather, lack job security, benefits, and fair wages. Additionally, the pandemic has highlighted the flaws in the current model of work. Many essential workers, such as healthcare professionals and grocery store clerks, were forced to continue working despite the risks to their health. At the same time, many others were forced to work from home, blurring the boundaries between work and personal life. This has led to burnout, stress, and a lack of work-life balance. Finally, the rise of social media and the internet has led to increased awareness of the flaws of capitalism and the impact it has on people's lives. The rise of the gig economy has created a generation of workers who are working multiple jobs without the benefits or protections of traditional employment. Social media has given people a platform to share their stories and connect with others who are experiencing the same struggles. Despite the growing frustration with the traditional model of work and the flaws of capitalism, there are still many who defend the current system. This is likely due to the fact that many of us have never been taught to think critically about capitalism and neoliberalism in general, accepting it as a natural default. Combine this with many years of anti-socialist and anti-communist propaganda, and it is understandable why many hold the positions they do. With that being said, here are some common pro-capitalist talking points that I will do my best to quickly debunk. Capitalism is the best system for creating wealth. While capitalism has been successful in generating wealth for some, it mostly perpetuates systemic inequality. The wealth gap between the rich and poor continues to grow, and the top 1% of the world's population now owns more than the bottom 50%. This unequal distribution of wealth is not sustainable in the long term and is detrimental to society as a whole. If you work hard enough, you can succeed under capitalism. This argument ignores the systemic barriers that prevent many people from achieving success, such as poverty, discrimination, and a lack of access to education and healthcare. Under capitalism, success is often determined by factors such as race, gender, socioeconomic status of your parents, rather than merit. Capitalism promotes innovation and entrepreneurship. While capitalism does incentivize innovation and entrepreneurship, it does so by prioritizing profits over social good. This can lead to unethical practices such as price gouging and environmental destruction. Additionally, many small businesses struggle to compete with large corporations that dominate the market. Capitalism promotes freedom and individualism. While capitalism does promote individualism, it often does so at the expense of collective well-being. This individualism can lead to a lack of social cohesion and a disregard for the needs of others. Additionally, under capitalism, many workers lack the freedom to choose their working conditions and are subject to exploitation by their employers. Socialism has failed everywhere it has been tried. This argument ignores the success of socialist policies, such as universal healthcare and public education, in countries such as Canada, the Nordic countries, and Cuba. Additionally, many of the supposed failures of socialist countries, such as Venezuela, are more accurately attributed to corruption and authoritarian practices rather than the economic system itself. The government should not interfere in the economy. This argument ignores the fact that government intervention is necessary to ensure a fair and functioning economy. Regulations are needed to prevent monopolies, protect workers, and safeguard the environment. Additionally, government spending on infrastructure and public services can stimulate economic growth and create jobs. Social welfare programs discourage people from working. While there may be some individuals who abuse the social welfare system, studies have shown that social welfare programs actually encourage people to work by providing a safety net and allowing them to pursue education and training. Additionally, social welfare programs can help reduce poverty and inequality, leading to a happier, healthier, and more productive society. Capitalism promotes democracy and human rights. While capitalism does promote certain democratic ideals, such as freedom of speech and the right to vote, it also perpetuates systemic inequality and suppresses the voice of marginalized communities. Additionally, capitalism often supports authoritarian regimes that prioritize profit over human rights. Unregulated capitalism leads to economic growth and prosperity. This argument ignores the fact that unregulated capitalism often leads to economic instability and inequality. The Great Recession of 2008, for example, was caused in part by unregulated financial practices. Additionally, unregulated capitalism can lead to the exploitation of workers and environmental degradation. Capitalism is the only viable economic system. This argument ignores the fact that there are alternative economic systems, such as socialism and cooperative economics, that prioritize social good over profit. Additionally, the flaws of capitalism, such as systemic inequality and environmental degradation, are becoming increasingly unsustainable and necessitate a change in the economic system. The flaws of capitalism are becoming increasingly apparent, and it is clear that a change is needed to create a more equitable and sustainable future. Turning away from capitalism means embracing alternative economic systems that prioritize social good over profit. This could include policies such as universal healthcare, a living wage, and a Green New Deal that prioritizes the environment and creates sustainable jobs. Additionally, turning away from capitalism means recognizing the importance of collective action and community-based solutions. Rather than relying solely on the market to solve our problems, we must work together to create a better future for all. This can include initiatives such as community gardens, cooperative housing, and mutual aid networks. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I genuinely appreciate it. As you can see, I am a tiny channel trying desperately to grow, so if you want to help, you can do the usual stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. If you really want to help me out and help me grow this so I can do this full time, you can head over to patreon.com/progressivewriter. I do have 2 Patreon exclusive videos on there right now, and I will make Patreon exclusive content in the future, so you can help me out that way. Thanks again.